I have this stuff on my face, and by stuff I mean two scabs that make me look like a real sketch fest right now. And I didn't fill in my eyebrows, and we're using part natural sunlight. I say part because I still have a ring light on.
Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unbothered by Ty Rivera. That's right, it's Unbothered by Ty Rivera. I'm your host, Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. I'm here with my solo producer, Snoopy B, my one and only macaroni, my day one, my all-the-time producer. We'll talk about her in a minute. Not too much, though, because I don't want to cry this episode. DJ Lindy, honk, honk, honk. I have an update from him. He's doing really well. He's very cagey about where he's working right now. I don't know if he thinks I'm going to call and try to sabotage it, but I'm not. I'm fine with his happiness. I don't think he gets that it was never my intention to sabotage him when it came to future relationships and future work. My thing was just, I was not going to pay him anymore. And you'll end up finding out in an upcoming episode where I did an interview before he left. Him and Bijou at a point wanted to be on-screen talent, and I've had Bijou for years, and she's never really wanted to be on-screen talent. So that tells me that Lindy was kind of spurring that on, and the last thing I need is a mutiny around here. So Lindy was a bad seed when it came to being an employee. As far as being a puppy, yeah, cute. As far as being in my face and trying to love me all the time, yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. But when it comes to that, that's cool, but I need good workers. And Bijou, even in her state right now, she is still a good worker. Bijou does do what needs to be done, and I'm very appreciative for Bijou. I went to take her to have acupuncture done yesterday. A friend of mine that I don't know if she's comfortable with me even saying her first name. So I'll just say a very good friend of mine that I actually met through creating podcast and content. She said that she had a acupuncturist that she takes her dogs to, and she was telling me how great she is. And she was like, I'll even set you up with your first consultation as well as treatment and just have them bill it to me. And so I figured that I should at least take her up on it. To be 100% honest, the doctor was very cool and I liked her and I appreciated what they did over there. But two things are going on. One, I didn't like the prognosis that she gave me, which people can feel however they want about that, but the thing is, with the prognosis she gave me, there is really not much I can do outside of what I'm already doing. So there's that, and I plan to continue doing what I'm doing anyway, because me and Bijou are on a bit of a plan right now, There's a way that I'm handling Bijou right now, gently, if you guys must know, but as far as what I'm doing for her and the way that I'm treating her right now. And so I know I was crying last week and the week before that a little bit too, I think. But I've found myself in a little better place with it. Don't get me wrong. I still have my moments where I am weak. I'm going to try not to have one on this episode because there's some other stuff that I want to talk about. But I know that some of you are very invested. And I also know that my podcast is getting fewer views right now. I'm going to tell you I'm fine with that because the regular videos have done really well. The one that I put out today is kind of tanking, but I knew that that would kind of happen because I have a pretty good gauge for what I'm doing. And when it comes to the content on my channel outside of this podcast, I have to do certain things that are just good for me or things that actually matter to me. So, being that it is a business, I'm not just doing YouTube for fun, obviously. I do have to balance that with also what would be interesting to viewers. And I do a really good job of making sure that those are subjects that I'm interested in too. But sometimes I'm like, I know I could get more views if I do this subject right here, but this subject actually kind of means something to me, or I feel like it's important to try to get eyes on it. And you never know. Sometimes those will get really good views. And if they do, then that's great for whatever it is that I'm trying to talk about in that particular video. Like the one that I'm talking about is the one where the coach got fired from that school in Lake Oswego High School in Oregon for standing up for female athletes because he's the head coach for track and field. And they have a policy that a student can compete in whatever category that they identify as the gender of. So that's making it so. Anyway, so long story short, obviously, there's trans in women's sports again. But this guy had a different take on it because he's a coach, and to him, he said it's not political at all. He just wants it to be fair for not only the female students, but also he doesn't like that the trans students end up getting embroiled in controversy over it and getting booed, which is something that happened at an actual meet that he was a part of or the coach for. Or coaching his team for. And so I thought, and he got fired because he wrote a letter to I don't remember if it was congressman or he wrote a letter to somebody regarding the state, and then he also wrote a letter to the Oregon Student Activities Association. And then he ended up getting fired, and he was just saying that they should create an open category and explaining what he thought the disadvantages were and advantages to the situation. And I just felt like that was them doing him dirty. That's the job of a coach. And so I wanted to get some more eyes on that. And like I said, it's not gotten a lot of views yet, but sometimes videos will, in a lot of cases, my videos, if they're going to do really well, they start doing really well kind of right away. But then sometimes, depending on the time I put them out or the day I put them out, they'll end up getting like what seems like nothing in the beginning. And I'll even be kind of worried and like, did I just post that for nothing? And then all of a sudden they'll take off. Like I had 2 videos really do that and they made me some good money, those videos. But it was like one of those situations where I was like, this didn't do well at all. And one of them really had me concerned because it didn't even take off till like the 4th or 5th day after it had been out. And like I said, usually you find out kind of right away with the kind of content I make. Different people make different kinds of content. So sometimes people expect it later or don't care how it does in the beginning. With this kind of stuff I do, usually I end up finding out kind of right away how it's going to do. But hopefully this is one of those sleepers because I do feel like this man has the best intentions, and I do feel like he would be the most qualified to talk about that. And so even if they didn't agree with him and decided, hey, there's nothing we can do about this, it's just the way it is and we're not going to be changing the policy, that to me is more acceptable than just firing somebody. So there's that. But as far as what's going on with Bijou, I'm in love with this dog and I fall more in love with her every day. And that's the way I've always felt about it. And so we're managing her situation symptom by symptom or whatever comes up. And right now she is making good progress. As far as I go, I can see her getting stronger. And like I said before, when she tells me she's ready to go, I'll let her go. I'll figure that out. But until that happens, I'm not going to stress it. I'm not going to make it an actual thing because if it's not a thing for her, then it's not a thing for me. And so, and I did feel really bad because of certain things that I let happen by accident, like the coyote situation. Also, when she had pyometra, because she's such a loner and doesn't always have the need to be with me. I didn't know that that was going on at first. Like I told you guys on another episode, I think it was called, I don't remember what it was called. It was about Bijou and Lyndon, though, specifically. It was probably 2 months ago. But when it comes to that, like I didn't notice right away. It wasn't until I forced her to sleep in the bed with me, and then that's where I noticed that something was going on with her. But until then, I hadn't known. And so it was one of those situations where you're like, how long was that going on that I didn't know that that was going on? And it couldn't have been too long because I do pay a fair amount of attention to her. It's not like I neglect her on any level. But when you have a dog that's very much by themselves and not used to, well, she cuddles with me sometimes, but she's very independent. So you don't always know that they're going through anything. Plus, Bijou is also very stoic. So it takes a lot for her to even let you know anything's wrong. And that's one of the things that I wish that she would work on here right now. But I don't think she's going to. I've talked to her about it. I tell her, I noticed what I do with Bijou. And it's fun to me now that I realize that that's what I was doing, because it's like I console her, right? I tell her things all the time. And then it hit me. You're really telling her everything that you need to hear. So when you talk to Bijou, you're really talking to yourself. And it's nice, it's nice to, even if you have to have another being, in this case, as your excuse to do it, it's nice to have something that forces you, or in this case, as I like to think of Bijou, someone that forces you to be as nice to yourself as you can possibly be, to really baby yourself. Because when it comes to the gym, when it comes to creating content, when it comes to stand up, I don't baby myself a lot. Actually, I don't baby myself at all. I'm a lot of, like, I am the king of, excuse me, I wanted to yawn, but I don't want to do that in the mic. I really am the king of just forcing myself to do things by whatever means necessary. So I won't always be the nicest in the way that I talk to myself. Like if I'm at the gym, sometimes I'll be on the treadmill and I'll be like, yeah, that's right, fat ass. Stay on the treadmill. You love eating cheese, which, sorry, Bijou. I didn't mean to get anybody excited over there, because believe me, she perks up when she hears that word. But yeah, and so there's not a lot of babying myself when it comes to stand up. I told you guys, I'm very happy with the way things are right now. Not only because now I can dedicate this much time to Bijou, but also because I really did want to dedicate a lot of time to my YouTube, and also because I was so caught up in that rat race of always going up that I really wasn't taking care of myself. Like I'd go to the gym, I'd take care of the dogs, I'd do stand up, and I'd hang out, that kind of thing. And my life was on that schedule. And I'm glad to have found a way out of that. And I know that sometimes people will wonder, or if I talk to people outright, they'll ask me about, stand up, or if I regret burning any of the bridges. And the truth is, I don't. I just don't think in those terms, and I don't know why people don't understand that. Like, to me, everything happens for a reason. And also, I'm not paying attention to people. So there's no FOMO because I don't even have any idea what anybody's doing. Like the other day, somebody hit me up on Twitter and they were like, hey, did you hear what do you think of Kim Congdon moving to Austin and leaving her podcast buddy Sarah behind in LA? And why do you think that was? And what do you think's really going on there? And it's like, I didn't even know that was happening, and I don't care. That does absolutely nothing to change anything in my life. So, and that's really the way I look at things, is I look at things like, how do they affect me? How does that change what I have going? Because what anybody else has going has nothing to do with what I'm doing. Somebody could be doing really well, doing the same stuff that I'm doing. Like say they've got a YouTube channel and they're doing really great with their YouTube channel. The fact that they're doing really great with their YouTube channel doesn't mean I can't be doing really well with my YouTube channel. And like I told you guys, my YouTube channel is going well. All you have to do is check the numbers. But there have been weeks when I haven't really been able to post anything because I was dealing with the Lyndon and Bijou situation. And having sent Lyndon to live with Dee, I could not be happier with the way that that's turned out as well. Because just like I knew, Dee absolutely loves him. She sends me pictures of what he's doing every once in a while. She sends me pictures of new friends he's making, which in some cases are old friends of mine. Like the other day, a comedian by the name of Jessica Michelle Singleton that I really, really like. I always have since she first started. I was in LA when she first got to LA, and I've just always liked that girl. One time we went on the road together, and she is just such a beast and such a trooper, and she's always working on new material, and she's a self-starter, and she's always promoting her own stuff like merch and podcast and like everything she does, she just gives 100% to it. And I really respect Jessica Michelle Singleton. And so she sent me a text message while I was at the gym the other day, because that part of my routine, like I told you guys, I have to stick to that. I give myself the reason all the time in my head. This is how Bijou has always helped me out, is in my head. I always tell myself, I got to stay strong. I got to stay a big, strong daddy for Bijou so that I can carry her up and down these stairs and do everything that we have to do. She's 10 pounds. But, well, 9.8 pounds. Lost even more weight now. Good baby. But what's it called? It's I was at the gym, and all of a sudden I see a text message from Jessica Michelle Singleton, and I was like, oh, I wonder if she's in town or what she's doing. And then I open it up, and it's a picture of Lindy, and he's sitting on Nicole Amy, who is also a really great comedian, who me and Nicole Amy got off to a really rocky start. And I'll always like and respect Nicole Amy because we got off to such a rocky start. I really did cuss her out one night. And I was on the mic, and I feel like it was still justified because she was doing some new comic stuff. This was years ago. This was like LA 2015, 2013, probably closer to 2013, 2014. And, you know, it was kind of a thing, but she had also started it in a sense. And none of this is me being at all like weird or anything like that. I really do love this girl. I think she's so great. And we've sent stray texts to each other at different points when things were happening in our lives. And so for me, Nicole Amy, even though I don't talk to her all the time, is a real and genuine friendship as far as I go. And I'm sure she feels the same way, because what I ended up finding out in the long term, because you have your first impression of people, and that could be a rocky start. But sometimes in the long term, you end up finding out that somebody's a very genuine person. And sometimes those rocky starts are the best way to start off on a real friendship, even though in the beginning it'll seem like whatever and like you really don't like each other, or you really don't like them, or they really don't like you, or however it goes. But then after you know them for a while and you really see the way that they operate and the type of person they are, then you get like, oh yeah, well, not only was that a misunderstanding, that was the complete opposite of what I thought I was dealing with. And I'm always willing to admit when I am wrong. When I realize that I am wrong, I have a saying: when I find out there's new information, I immediately act like there's new information. And what happened was Nicole Amy started hanging out with my friend Dee. They became really good friends. And Dee had told me, Dee, the same one, obviously, that has Lindy. And Dee had told me, I think that if you would give Nicole Amy a chance, because everybody calls her Nicole Amy. I very rarely hear anybody call her Nicole, even though it does happen, but usually Nicole Amy. And she was like, so I think if you were to actually meet Nicole Amy, and because her and Dee had posted, I remember it was like a Instagram story of them making cookies. And I remember sending something to D Caddy because it was at that time, and I was like, I don't like that girl, and which I am not the friend. If I send something like that, that's just me venting and letting off a little steam. I always tell people I feel like we all have a little bit of a crazy valve behind our ear, and so every once in a while, when you do something like that, it's you letting off some of the pressure from the crazy valve, just a quick, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what that was. And so when I send stuff like that to friends, it's never me, and my friends all know this about me. It's never me trying to tell them, don't talk to that person, or if you're going to be friends with me, you can't be friends with that person. That is not the way I operate at all. And so, but I did send that, and then she was like, I think that if you met her or if you gave her a chance, you guys would actually get along really well. And I am always resistant to anybody telling me who I'm going to end up liking. But at the same time, D is not the kind of friend that's telling you something that way. D is a friend that really is a true friend. That's one thing I can say about my friend D is she is through and through a true friend. And she has been very good about keeping everything separate because she's also been in the comedy industry for a long time. She's taken different paths in where she's situated in it, but she's always been very closely related to that world, and also, which this is important when you think about the way this business works, she's also been very well respected by pretty much everybody. I don't know anybody that doesn't like her, and most people actually love her. But even with the different run-ins that I've had with different people, or my personality sometimes rubbing people the wrong way, independent of what I'm thinking, or because I will not lie to you guys when I say that I sometimes have personality conflicts with people or problems with people. You think? I fully acknowledge that sometimes that's me, sometimes it's them, sometimes it's them, and I didn't even realize that they had a problem with me or think that they had a reason to have a problem with me. That was a part of my problem with the mothership. Was Adam Egget had always had a problem with me ever since the Comedy Store, and I never had a problem with him, so I didn't understand where that was coming from. But if you have a problem with me for long enough, eventually one day, and if you treat me like you have a problem with me for long enough, I should say, then one day I am going to snap on you. One day, and I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. I have the anyone can get it rule, and people don't understand how serious that is for me. It's such a serious thing that it's independent of me. And I know some people would say that's a lack of impulse control. I go with whatever I go with, to tell you the truth. Like when it comes to me and those emotions, because I do have those emotions, because I've dealt with a lot of people in this business bullying me, and a lot of people never pay attention to the fact that for the first 7 years of my career, I really put up with everybody just unloading anything that they wanted to unload on me, and just for the most part being chill about it and just being like, okay, well, this is paying my dues. Okay, well, this is paying my dues. And one day I felt like, you know what? I'm tired of paying those dues. I've paid those dues. I've let people mistreat me. I've slept on floors, literally have slept on floors. I've driven through the night when the headliner wouldn't let me sleep during the day because they were inconsiderate, and I can sleep through a lot. So when you're that inconsiderate, I had one particular incident where I was asleep in the back of the car because this particular headliner, I had driven through the night and they were supposed to drive during the day. And then I'm asleep in the back seat of the car, and long ways, and they are taking curves really hard and fast, and every once in a while slamming the brakes. And literally every once in a while I would fly off the back seat of the car. And, luckily I've always worked out a lot, and I'm not, knock on wood, we'll do that after, but and I will remember, knock on wood, but I'm not accident prone or prone to getting hurt a lot. It's just not something that happens. And so, like when I got that hernia, that's why that was such a like situation for me where it was like, wow, this is the first signs of me actually being hurt by something. Because in a lot of cases, as far as my body goes, I just don't really deal with a lot. As far as being sick goes, that didn't even used to happen a lot until I got here to Austin, and then I had to adjust to the weather. And there were some times since I've been here, or when I first got here, I should say, within that first like year or whatever, that were kind of rough at different points as far as cedar fever and things like that. But for the most part, I don't have, a lot of issues with that either. Allergies, I don't have any like food allergies. Um, and so, but anyway, where I was going with all that, this is the longest circle ever to get there, is that when it comes to my friend D, she had told me that I would probably like Nicole Amy. And then organically, me and Nicole Amy just ended up talking at some point. I think it was about my hair. At the time, I had the long hair and or long-ish hair, and I would flat iron it, and then I put this particular product in it, an argan oil that was like an additive basically, and you would put anyway. And so one time I was saying something about my hair, and then Nicole Amy was like, "Oh, I didn't even know that you did anything to your hair. I thought it was just naturally straight like that." And I was like, "No, I flat iron it and whatever else." And a lot of times with me, if you haven't done anything that's really terrible, if you just talk to me like a regular person, even if we had a problem before, I will end up just talking to you again or talking to you. Like that's why I think I said on an episode recently that if I were to see Tony Hinchcliffe in public and he were to walk over to me and start talking to me, I would just talk to him. And if he brought up anything about, anything I've said on my podcast or mothership or anything like that, I definitely stand behind it. But I wouldn't come at it from a defensive way or be upset with him for coming up to me. And I certainly wouldn't make a scene. I would be very clear and very firm because I've meant everything that I've said. And so I wouldn't turn into a different person, that's for sure. But I wouldn't be like aggressive or rude or, ghetto or anything like that. Rebecca, I would not be friendly with, and I can tell you that. And I recently had a friend ask me about that. One of the few friends that would actually talk to me about this kind of thing, because that's the other thing people don't really understand about the way that my life is segmented, is even when it comes to Dee, even though she's in the industry, I really do have a situation where with most of my closest friendships, we don't talk about stand up that much. Like with D, I'll talk about it more than I'll about it with any other friend. But even that is limited. Like, we didn't even have a real conversation about the whole mothership situation and everything that was going on with me in the Austin comedy scene until well after it was over. And even that was only on a kind of need to know basis because I was talking to her about a particular situation that was going on for me. And when it comes to dealing with the business, because Dee has always been on the other side of the business, she's never been a comedian, never had an interest in being a comedian. She has run comedy clubs, she's opened up comedy clubs for major chains. She's worked with some of the biggest comics as a road manager. She's done all the stuff on that side. So if I have a question when it comes to the business of stand-up, that's a person that I'll definitely go to. And so we had that conversation, but we don't have a real like gossipy, this is what's going on in the scene and this is the tea girl. We don't have that kind of situation, and with most of my friends, it's very much like that. Like I said, all of my close friends, it's really like that. Like when I mentioned my friend Renee or even my niece, or my gay besties, anybody that I really talk to, all that stuff is just kind of segmented. It's like, yeah, that's what that is. I do stand up, and so we'll have a quick, sometimes rare reference to it. If I'm doing a show, my friends and family will come out to that, if we happen to be in the same city. But yeah, but with Rebecca, I would not have any interest in talking to her on any level. I don't care to mend that fence in any way. But what I was gonna say is one of the friends that would actually talk to me about that kind of thing that I do know from a comedy context asked me why I feel that way about Rebecca. Rebecca from the Creek and the Cave, Rebecca Trent, and for anybody that's not familiar. But the reason that I feel that way with Rebecca, because at first when my friend asked me, I was like, why do I feel that way about Rebecca? Because I know, sometimes I know I feel things, but I don't, after I haven't thought about them for a while, I don't remember why I feel that way. And so it'll take a second for me to actually be like, okay, because I'm just not a person that lives in the past. My life really has gotten better, and I've gotten better about being in the moment, about thinking about what's happening right now and where I'm at right now. Um, but because of that, I'll forget a lot of things. But if I know that I should not like somebody, then my brain will hold on to just that part of it. Just like, oh, yeah, that's a person that you don't talk to. And the reason is because Rebecca really did pretend to be my friend. And not only did she pretend to be my friend, during that whole situation, I always kept the lines of communication open, and I stayed in contact with her. And her boyfriend, Justin, who was producer Justin from Slumber Party when I was doing the Slumber Party podcast, and the resident producer, one of, I think, two or three resident producers at the Creek and the Cave, had access to everything because he would record them and then he would send them to me. And so he had even told me that he would leave it out for her, like leave it open on the computer, and also would on some occasions ask her if she wanted to hear things, and I would keep her posted. And it's the closest that a person like me is ever going to get to asking anybody's permission. And at no point did she come to me person to person and say, this is too much, or I'm worried about this, and like I said, I had left myself open enough to her that she knows that that was an option. So the fact that she chose not to do that and instead just publicly turned on me at a point really is telling to me of the kind of person she is. And also, when a person is like that, they're not going to change. And so it's not like one day I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm cool with Rebecca Trent. And I know. And if you ever see me talking to Rebecca Trent, understand that I'm probably just saying in a very civilized voice how much I don't like her, because I would never approach her for that. But if she were to ever come to me, I would definitely give her a very subdued, because I know other people would be around, and it's important that you don't make yourself look too ghetto in situations that don't require that. But I would definitely tell her in a hushed tone, we are definitely not friends. We're not gonna be friends. I don't need you for anything. I don't want you around me. I don't even want people to think that I'm talking to you. So this will be the last time that we interact publicly. Please respect that. That's what Rebecca Trent would get from me. And I will never change that. She can, I wouldn't even care if she came out and outright apologized for it. I'd be like, thanks for the apology, but we're still where we're at. There's a few people that I feel that way about, but very few. But it's just because I know when people are like that, that's what they are. Like with Tony Hinchcliffe, people would ask me, maybe people would ask me why I would talk to him when that was kind of similar. And it was because I always knew where me and Tony were. So no matter what Tony ever tried to really put out there, it's like I said, when Tony had tried to paint it to Rebecca like we were closer friends than we were. Ty was one of my best friends. I can't believe he's doing this right now. It was like, I knew that was never true. even when he would tell people things like that. That's why I called his bluff and hit him up when I was having the problems with Adam over at the mothership. I told you guys I hit up Tim Dillon, I hit up Brian Simpson, and then I hit up Tony Hinchcliffe. And the reason that I hit up Tony Hinchcliffe last, and the reason that I hit up Tony Hinchcliffe was A, because he's closest to Joe Rogan. Him and Joe Rogan are best friends. And so there's that connection, him being close to Rogan. So if anybody could get a message to Rogan or let Rogan know something that I consider to be unjust treatment and unfair treatment and unprofessional treatment, that would be Tony Hinchcliffe. But then also, since he was always saying that, because he would always tell people, even in front of me, not that we were best friends, but he would tell people in front of me, I've known Ty for 15 years. Ty Rivera, we're good friends, blah, blah, blah. And literally say these kinds of things in front of me. And, like I said, I always knew where me and Tony were. So, but, at a point I got like, maybe he really does see it that way. Maybe he really, and I just haven't felt it. Because I liked him. I love him. But because, like I said, because I knew him from that context. Like, why? It's like if you watch anything else grow, it's like if you have a friend's child that you've watched grow. And I'm not trying to be insulting right now. I'm just trying to make this relatable. But if you had a friend's child that you watched grow and you're like, yeah, you do feel a love for them because you've watched them grow. You've seen them since they were little, but you don't necessarily feel that closeness in all cases where you're like, oh, we're particularly close. I have family members that are like that, not close family members, because as far as, my actual family goes, when it comes to my nephews, my nieces, my mom, my dad, my sisters, we're all, or I'm super good with all of them, and the way that I feel about them is very much what it's supposed to be, as far as me, like, there's a few that I keep a little more at arm's length, but that's just because, we have personality differences or whatever. But I do, like, definitely feel a closeness with them. But when it comes to like more removed relationships, that's kind of the way that I felt about Tony. But if a person says something to you enough, because I was around Tony enough when we'd be at Mothership, and I started to be like, maybe he does really feel this way. So I was like, okay, let me check this friendship out. Let me trampoline it a little bit, and see if like this is really going to support the weight of what he's pretending it is. Because if you're really my friend like that, then it should be easy for you to step in and mediate this situation, which that's all that the situation really needed, was mediation, if it was going to be helped or if anybody wanted to help it. And so when I hit Tony up and then he was not helpful at all and technically was the opposite and pretty condescending in the way that he dealt with it, then I was like, yeah, that's what I thought you were. And so it wasn't really a thing where I was at any point like fooled. But with Rebecca, because I didn't know her that well, I really had thought that she was genuine, and I still, as much as people think that I just said everything, I still didn't flush Rebecca out the way I could have. Like, there's certain things she said that I'm sure that she really regrets having said to me, and was probably shaking in her boots a little bit, hoping that I wouldn't say publicly because she's the one that told me. And I chose not to do that, only because I didn't really see how that was going to be beneficial or how it would be anything other than spiteful. But, it was regarding other people, and it really could have hurt her reputation even more than I kind of did, because whether or not anybody likes it, a lot of people's reputations definitely were damaged when I came out and said things the way that I said them. But I don't care about that either, because that was just me telling the truth. And if I'm allowing everybody to tell the truth about me, which everybody does tell the truth about me, and I'm a good sport about when it comes to the truth about me, I've discussed that before when people say that I'm crazy, or people say that, I have personality conflicts with people, or, that I'm a strong personality, or the stuff that people say about me. I usually just laugh off, and, I'll own that there are certain things. Do I think that I deserve the entire reputation that I have? Not really, because, and I don't say that in a victim way. I do kind of like, well, not kinda. I definitely do like the reputation that I have, even though it isn't 100% deserved. And I say that because people will make it sound like I'm more of a savage than I am, not ever acknowledging what led me to act in that particular way in that particular instance. Sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you just went off on so and so out of nowhere," and in my head, I'm like, "Okay, if you want to believe that, you can believe that," but that really did come from somewhere. Like when it came to mothership, it looked like one day I just went off on Adam. Little did anybody know, for the last 10 years, Adam has been being very negative with me and very disrespectful. It's just when I was closer to new, I felt like, again, that was something I had to put up with because I was paying my dues. But to say that Adam has never done anything in stand up and he doesn't have a particularly good eye for stand up, that to me is not at all insulting, and it shouldn't be a secret. All you have to do is look at some of the people he passed when he was in charge at the Comedy Store. And some people credit Adam with bringing back the Comedy Store, and really Adam allowing Joe Rogan back into the Comedy Store because Rogan's audience and because of the other comics that would be attracted to the Comedy Store, again at the point at which Rogan came back. That was a very smart move on his part, but that wasn't him doing the work in that. That was him just kind of kicking back and letting Rogan do what he needed to do. And then that, combined with the perfect storm of Chris D'Elia taking off at that point, there were just several people that were drawn to the Comedy Store and saw it for what it is, because the Comedy Store is an actual institution. And it would not take much for people to revitalize it, even at this point, because I hear it's going through a little bit of a lull right now as well, which I don't know for a fact. I haven't been to LA since I lived there, or maybe a year after I lived there. Um, and so I can't verify that, but that's what I've heard. But if it is going through any kind of lull, it wouldn't take much for people to revitalize it, because it will always be the Comedy Store. And so, when I finally had enough of Adam, like I said, that was after 10 years of having put up with disrespect from this person. And if you think about that in the context of anything else, who else would you put up with bullshit from for 10 years? And then finally say something, and then have people act like, "Oh, you went off." And it was like, yeah, after 10 years I had it. And I've grown past all of that stuff. Even just me personally, it's not even about the stand up, which, my stand up speaks for itself, so I don't really have to talk about that a lot. Which, by the way, I'll be in San Antonio August 16th. I'm going to be doing 2 shows at the Stage, I think is what it's called. I'll look it up. But yeah, you can search it online, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm going to be doing 2 shows August 16th, an early and a late, 7 and 9 or 8 and 10. Who knows? I'll figure it all out by the time we get closer to it. I'm just perk your ears if you're in the San Antonio area, or you're going to be in the San Antonio area. I will start getting back to more people. A lot of people have hit me up, but for right now, while little Bijou's going through her thing, I'm really not trying to be on the road on any level, because I'm the only one that can take care of her. And so I'm not thinking about any, San Antonio is like a hour drive at the most. And so, and that's August 16th. So a couple weeks away from now, we're on the 31st of July. And so I'll see what Bijou's doing and where we're at. Me and Bijou have always been a good team and good at working out whatever we have to work and figuring things out the way that we need to figure things out. my baby still lets me know when she's got to go potty, and I'm able to take her down. And, aside from just the wishful thinking part of it, I do notice that she's getting stronger, and I do notice that she's feeling better. And like I said, when she tells me she's ready to go, then it'll be time for her to go. But right now, she isn't telling me that, and she hasn't been telling me that. And so, but she does tell me she's tired sometimes. She does let me know that she's frustrated sometimes. She does let me know that she does want to get back, or she wishes, which I don't know how much dogs wish, but I know she knows the difference, between then and now. And, so I mean, like, and I get all of it. And I'm very much in tune with her in that way, where it's just like, especially now, because I have to be dialed into her more than ever because she's not able to tell me things exactly the way that she used to be able to tell me things, So sometimes I bug her a little bit, because her signal for me, which I think I told you before, is to lick me when it's time for her to go potty, which, has always been her signal for me. And so to make sure that I'm not missing a signal, several times during a day, I'll open up her little area, which you've seen video or pictures of. It's still enough area for her. But I'll open up her little area and I'll get down on all fours and put my face right in her face. And I'll ask her, do you got to go potty? Do you got to go poop? And then she'll lift her little head and then she'll lick my nose or my lips if it's a yes. And if it's a no, she just looks forward and pretends like I'm crazy. And she's able to sit up again, and she's been able to eat on her own, which she's always been able to eat. Like this girl, that's the thing. Uh, Eating and drinking, she's always been good about. But I was having to prop her up and then hold the bowl for her, and now she's starting to eat and drink on her own again. And so I'm just gonna see how many improvements we can make, and I really do have faith in God, and I know that a lot of people don't understand that about me, and it's I admit that it's a paradox, that I would be the kind of person I am, but still believe in God the way that I do, and some of the imagery that I have and tattoos, and if you look around my apartment, it probably would tell you that I worship something else, but that's I just don't believe that God is looking at symbols that I find aesthetically pleasing and judging me based on that, when he, better than anybody else, knows what my relationship is with him. And I also have a relationship with the universe. I also sometimes ask the moon to help me out, 2 nights ago, no, last night, literally last night, um, see, this is the problem with talking too fast, is you don't know where you're gonna find yourself. People respect me for doing stream of consciousness, but it's kind of dangerous because you don't know where you're gonna find yourself. But we'll just say it, and then I told you guys I wasn't gonna cry. Told myself I wasn't gonna cry. It reminds me of that stupid when people used to told myself I wasn't gonna cry. But last night, cause I put a towel down so that I can put Bijou in her sling, because we got a sling and I love it. I think because I got two slings, I think the new one might work a little better than that one, but that one's been a good tool for us. And like I said, I can feel Bijou's back legs getting stronger, and she's able to go poop quicker when she has to go poop. Which is too much information about you guys, but it is what it is. And she's able to go potty, and so things are going well in that way. But Yesterday was when we went to the acupuncture thing, and like I said, I didn't like what the doctor told us. And so I put a towel down so I can set her on her sling, and then sometimes we just hang out there for a little while, because there's a vacant lot. And last night I just laid with her under the stars. And I just prayed to anything out there that she would be better. Like, I didn't care if it was the moon, if it was the stars, if it was God, if it was the universe, if it was all of it. It was just just a true SOS, where you're just like, yeah, if anybody's out there, just fucking. Which I always knew, she wasn't going to last forever, but I said 20 years. So, I remind her all the time that, I'm like, just give me 10 more years, Bijou. Nine for good behavior. I tell her that a lot. But whatever she gives me, I will be happy with. And I do appreciate her because, like, everything that we're going through right now, I feel like even all we've been through in the last 7 or 8 days, which kind of has been a lot. Um, Sorry. But I feel like everything that we've been through has really given me a chance to redeem myself somewhat for the times that I messed up, which, like I said, I talked about with the coyote, and then and I don't feel like I've let her down a lot, but I do feel like some of the times I let her down, it was kind of big. And so, I feel like, who knows, maybe it's like my karma. Maybe she's being nice enough to give me a chance to clear my conscience before she goes. But I don't know what's going on. All I know is I'm doing much better, whatever it looks like. Well, that's another problem with the no edits policy. Between the stream of conscious and the no edits, I have done myself no favors because this is just gonna stay what it is, and I'm not gonna bother watching it because uh, I'm gonna go ahead and post this immediately after. Well, I'm gonna upload it and then I'm gonna post it immediately after. So, excuse me. You guys will be watching this um pretty much in real time. So, sorry, I'll do better next week, and I'll make it a point not to cry. Maybe I just won't discuss Bijou anymore um until it's just 100% happy news. But then I'll probably cry because I'm happy. But either way, it is what it is. Stay unbothered.